My husband Julian was blinded on Mount. I dropped everything and took care of him for 5 years. The day he regained his sight, the bandages came off and he stepped right past me to wrap my best friend Maya in his arms. Through his tears he said, "Maya, thank you for never leaving my side these 5 years." I watched them, heart leaping with joy. I had known for 3 years already that he was only pretending to be blind. His so-called recovery was nothing more than a convenient moment to kick me aside and be with his mistress. Now that he has declared his hand so openly, I might as well come clean myself. Clean about how, year by year, I turned him into a pauper. "You can take them off." The doctor had barely finished speaking when Julian's hands flew to the gauze that had wrapped his eyes for 5 years. Julian's parents, my father and mother-in-law, held their breath, excitement shining on their faces. Maya stood at the bedside, eyes red, hands clasped tight at her chest. I kept to the farthest corner and watched in silence. When the final layer fell away, Julian's shut eyelids quivered under the harsh light. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, he opened them. At first there was only bewilderment, his pupils hunting for focus. Then his gaze brushed his ecstatic parents, brushed me, and finally landed on Maya's face, as though after crossing 1,000 mountains he had found his true home. He stepped around me, wryly, and crushed Maya to him, so tightly no daylight could slip between them. "Maya!" His voice cracked with the frenzy of a man who had lost and regained the world. "I can see. I can finally see you. Thank you for staying with me through these 5 years." Maya sobbed against his chest, pounding his back. "Julian, I'm so happy you're better. What a soul-stirring reunion. If only the leading lady were the right one." My mother-in-law tugged my sleeve, flustered. "Sienna, Julian just got his sight back, his head still muddled." I smiled and shook my head. No, he was perfectly lucid. Lucid enough to reach first for the woman he truly wanted. Watching the two of them weep in each other's arms, I felt nothing but jubilation. At last, this day had arrived. 5 years ago, Julian was caught in an avalanche while climbing. They pulled him off the mountain half dead, and when he woke he couldn't see. We had been married exactly 1 year. From golden boy to helpless wretch overnight. His temper turned savage and dark, hurling objects and curses like a cornered animal. I quit my job, abandoned my life, and stayed by him every minute. I fed him, bathed him, read the news aloud, took him to therapy. 2 full years. I went from pampered heiress to all-purpose caretaker. Friends called me a fool. I told them he was my husband. The change came 3 years ago. I brought water into the bedroom. He thought I was still in the kitchen. I saw with my own eyes him sidestep the cup I'd knocked over that morning. Fluid, precise, no hesitation. A blind man does not dodge obstacles. I stood in the doorway, blood turning to ice. From that day I watched. I would shine a flashlight in his face after he fell asleep. His pupils shrank instantly. I pretended to trip in front of him. He started to reach out, then checked himself, but I caught the reflex. He had been whole all along. He was acting. Why? That night, certain I slept, he slipped to the balcony with his phone. I followed. His voice low and tender, an intimacy he had never shown me. "Maya, just a little longer. Once the company is completely stable and every asset is locked down, I'll tell her. She's still useful. A free caretaker. Why waste that? Be patient, baby. I'll make it up to you." My best friend Maya, the girl who came daily to cheer me, swearing she would always stand by me. She and Julian had been conspiring under my roof. My 2 years of devotion were, in his words, a free caretaker, too convenient to waste. I spent the rest of the night wide-eyed, staring at the ceiling. When dawn broke, I made a decision. "You want time? Fine. I'll give you all the time in the world. Only the ending will be written by me." "Julian, let go of Maya for a moment and let the doctor finish the exam." My father-in-law cleared his throat, awkwardly trying to restore order. Julian loosened his grip, but kept Maya's hand locked in his. He looked at me, not guilty, appraising. "Sienna, these 5 years have been hard on you. A breezy hard on you, to pay for half a decade of my life." I curved my lips in a silent smile. My mother-in-law patted my hand. "Sienna, the Voss family won't forget this. Now that Julian is well, you can finally relax, enjoy life." Enjoy life? More like enjoy the curb. The doctor ran a battery of tests and declared his vision perfect. The family checked him out amid cheers. Back at the Voss estate, my mother-in-law cooked a feast to welcome him home. Around the table, my in-laws and Maya fussed over him. "Everything crystal clear? Any discomfort? Name it and I'll cook it tomorrow." I sat on the margins, listening to their laughter. Julian finally remembered me. He set down his chopsticks and dabbed his mouth. "Sienna." The table fell silent, all eyes turning my way. These years you've carried the house and the company alone. You've had it rough." He paused, tone shifting into executive command. "Now that I'm back, those responsibilities return to me." He stretched his palm across the table. "Tomorrow sort out the company seal, the finance stamp, and the household bank cards and hand them over." Maya chimed in, voice syrupy. "Right, Sienna. You can finally rest. With Julian in charge, Vostek will soar even higher." Her smile was all concern. The hunger in her eyes was naked. I almost laughed at the audacity, Oscar-worthy indeed. I stared at Julian's hand stretched out in front of me, a hand with clean, distinct joints, undeniably beautiful. Once, this hand had clasped mine gently, brushing stray strands of hair from my forehead. Now it demanded my last ounce of worth without mercy. I lowered my lashes and whispered, "All right." My easy consent made Julian and Maya exchange a look of triumphant glee. Eleanor mother-in-law's smile brightened. "That's the spirit. Don't worry, Sienna. Julian will treat you fairly from now on." I nodded, wearing a docile expression. "They're in the safe deposit box at the bank. I'll collect them tomorrow." "Why in a safe deposit box?" Julian frowned, unhappy with the answer. "The house isn't safe. I was afraid they'd get lost." My reply left no loopholes. He studied my face for several seconds, hunting for a crack. But all I revealed was flawless weariness and meekness. Finally he looked away. "Fine. Go early tomorrow." The dinner ended in a weirdly harmonious atmosphere. Richard, father-in-law, and Eleanor left content. Maya excused herself to keep Julian company and stayed. I tactfully said, "Chat you too. I'm going upstairs to shower." On the landing I paused. From the living room below, smothered laughter floated up. "I told you she wouldn't dare." "She's wrapped around your finger," Maya whispered. "Woman can't breathe without a man, idiot," Julian sneered. "If she hadn't been obedient these years, I'd have kicked her out the day I saw again." "When will we marry? Why rush?" "Once everything's in my name, I'll hand her a cramped fixer-upper in the suburbs. More than generous." "You're wicked. Do you like it?" Disgusting flirting and kissing followed. I listened without a flicker of expression, almost amused. "A cramped fixer-upper in the suburbs? Julian, you've never lacked confidence." The next morning I rose at dawn. Julian and Maya were still upstairs, exhausted from their late-night battle. I applied flawless makeup and put on sharp business attire. At the mirror I smiled, one I hadn't worn in ages. "Welcome back, Sienna." I didn't head to the bank. I drove straight to Vostek. Julian had founded the firm before we married. After his blindness, I'd run it single-handedly. Over the past 3 years, while he couldn't see, I had him sign countless papers. Stock transfer agreements, asset-backed loan agreements. Step by step, like an industrious ant, I moved every asset into my name. Julian Teka's CEO is now me, its majority shareholder, also me. Julian holds less than 1%, a nobody. I convened every senior executive and announced Julian's honorable retirement and the company's new direction. They glanced at one another but voiced no opposition. Under my leadership, profits had soared. They knew who made them money. When the meeting ended, I visited the real estate exchange. Our present villa and the 2 lofts registered to Julian now bear my name as owner. I listed the villa with an agent for a quick sale. After all, the address on Julian's debt notices is here. I returned in the afternoon. Julian and Maya sat on the living room sofa. Seeing me empty-handed, Julian's face darkened. "Where are they?" "The safe deposit box system is down for maintenance today. I couldn't withdraw." "Maintenance?" His voice spiked. "Do I look 3? How hard is fetching a box, Sienna?" Now that he could see, he dropped all pretense, temper flaring. Maya hurried to soothe him, hugging his arm. "Julian, don't be angry. Banks have glitches." "Sienna, why not give Julian the key? He can go himself. He wants to help lighten your load." Such a caring best, always thinking of my beloved husband. I looked at her and suddenly smiled. "Maya, there's something I've wanted to ask." "What is it?" "Didn't you once say you despised any woman who wrecked another's home?" Maya's face froze. Julian was equally stunned. "What do you mean, Sienna?" "Nothing special." I wiped the smile away, my gaze turning cold. It just crossed my mind. The room's temperature plummeted. They realized I'd stopped performing. Julian's patience snapped. He shot up, towering over me. "I don't care what stunt you're pulling. Bring them tomorrow or you'll face the consequences." Threat blazed in his eyes. I met his stare and spoke each word clearly. "Julian, have you forgotten? You've been blind for 5 years. Many things have already changed." "What do you mean? Say it straight." Julian snatched my wrist. The pain made me frown, but I didn't struggle. "It means..." I lifted my head and met his furious eyes. "What you want I can't give." "Say that again," he roared, the veins at his temples bulging. I said I can't give it. I repeated calmly. You dare. His hand rose. The slap never landed. Maya stopped it. Julian, calm down. Talk nicely, don't hit. She hugged his arm for dear life, throwing me a panicked look. Sienna, stop fighting him. You know his temper. Just hand it over. She was still performing, playing the kind, innocent saint caught in the middle. I yanked my wrist free and rubbed the red marks his grip had left. Julian, I'll give you one more chance. I looked at him, and at Maya behind him. Right now, both of you, Jamie, get out of this house. I can pretend none of this ever happened. Won't sue you for trespass and fraud. Otherwise what? Julian laughed as if he'd heard the joke of the century. Sienna, are you crazy? This is my house. You want me to get out? He jabbed a finger at the floor, at the giant wedding portrait on the wall, his face full of ridicule. I'll say it one last time. By 10 tomorrow morning, return everything untouched. Or we meet in court. He pulled Maya and spun toward the stairs. Stop. I called after them. From my bag I slowly drew a document. I think you should look at this first. I tossed it onto the coffee table between us. Julian glanced impatiently. The next second his pupils shrank. It was a property deed. Black ink on white paper, crystal clear. The owner's line read, Sienna. And the address was the priceless villa beneath our feet. What is this? Julian snatched it, turning it over and over as if hunting for a hole. Impossible. This is fake. Sienna, you forged a government document. He exploded like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Maya leaned in, her face draining of color. Julian, it looks real. Shut up. He barked at her, then glared at me. What did you do? What did I do? I smiled. I tugged more papers from my bag, spreading them one by one. Not just this villa. The 2 lofts, your Porsche, and the company you're so proud of, they all now share my name. Each sheet landed like a sledgehammer on their hearts. Julian's breathing turned ragged. His color shifted from crimson to livid to ashen. Impossible. I never signed these, he muttered, practically insane. You signed. I shattered his fantasy. For 3 years you signed countless pages. Every time you ordered your free nanny to hand you papers while you groped for a pen in the dark, you were gifting them to me. You. At last he understood. He'd thought himself the hunter in control, but for 3 years he'd been the prey. He pointed at me, trembling too violently to speak. Uffed. Blood burst from Julian's mouth, spattering the documents on the table. He swayed and toppled backward. Julian! Maya shrieked, catching him. The living room descended into chaos. I watched coldly and dialed 911. Hello, XX Road, XX number. Medical emergency. Send an ambulance. I hung up, walked over, and looked down at Julian, white as paper in Maya's arms. Julian, stop acting. If you can't handle this, how will you play with me? His eyes snapped open, hatred blazing. Sienna, you venomous. I'm gentler than you. I knelt to his level. To elope with your mistress you feigned blindness for 5 years, milking wife's love and guilt, turning her into unpaid help. Julian, next to your ruthlessness, I'm an amateur. Every word stabbed like a blade. His lips quivered uncontrollably. The ambulance arrived within minutes. Julian was loaded onto a stretcher. Maya climbed in, sobbing. Before the doors closed, she shot me a venomous glare. Sienna, you won't win. Julian will destroy you. I waved, beaming. Can't wait. At last the world was quiet. I surveyed the messy living room and calmly returned the papers to my bag. Then I went upstairs into their bedroom. Maya's belongings were sparse, clothes, cosmetics. I grabbed a trash bag and swept everything inside. Julian's clothes followed. I hauled the bulging bags downstairs and tossed them into the garbage. Only then did every pore in my body feel alive. Julian was discharged after only 1 day in the hospital. It was nothing serious, just rage pounding at his heart. The instant he got back, he stormed into my room and tried to snatch the documents. Of course, he failed. I had already moved every important paper to a safe place. He yanked open drawers, overturned boxes, left my room a disaster zone, and found absolutely nothing. Like a cornered animal, he prowled the house, roaring curses. Sienna, you vicious bitch. I'll kill you. Give me back what's mine. I sat on the living room sofa, sipping tea at my leisure, letting him rant upstairs. Maya perched across from me, eyes red, playing the pitiful ingenue. Sienna, I know you hate us, but you don't have to be this ruthless. Julian is still your husband. You've shared years together. Stop. I set my cup down and cut her off. Maya, spare me your little performance. It makes me nauseous. Her face froze. Disappointed, aren't you? I gave her a malicious smile. You schemed for 5 years. Sure, you'd finally become Mrs. Voss and command a billion-dollar fortune. Instead, Julian's a pauper. Your Cinderella fantasy just shattered. I didn't, she shot back, frantic. I love Julian. No matter what happens, I'll never leave him. Really? I arched a brow. How touching. I pulled out my phone, tapped a video, and slid it toward her. On the screen, Maya cozied up to a paunchy, balding middle-aged man, his hand sliding over her waist. I recognized him, Mr. Davis, one of Julian's biggest clients. Old Wang divorced last month. Word is, his wife uncovered his shiny new mistress. I watched her expression as I spoke. Her face had turned paper white. I don't care what your relationship with him is. Just remember. I leaned to her ear and whispered, Wang's ex-wife is no pushover. If she decides you're the other woman, guess how she'll handle you? Maya fled in panic. Watching her bolt felt better than champagne. The clip? Commissioned. The photos? Shopped. So what? Maya's conscience is filthy, and Wang's ex is infamous for scalping husband snatchers. Truth ceased to matter the moment fear took over. If the threat keeps her circling drain, mission accomplished. Upstairs, the tantrum waned. Julian trudged down, hair wild, eyes blood-webbed, every inch the wreckage of the titan he once pretended to be. He dropped onto the opposite sofa, voice gravel rough. Sienna, we need to talk. About what? I feigned innocence. How you plan to kick me out and toss me a cramped fixer-upper. He choked on the retort, cheeks cycling purple and white. Finally he forced the words out. What exactly do you want? Simple, I said. A divorce. Never, he snapped without thinking. I won't give you a divorce. You'll never keep my fortune to yourself. My fortune. I laughed. Julian, what fortune do you still have? I pulled a folder from my bag and slid it across the coffee table. Papers are signed. Community property to me. Every debt to you. Debt? He snorted. What debt? You'll find out fast. I stood. The conversation bored me. I'm giving you 3 days. Sign and we meet at City Hall. Don't, and your charming creditors will introduce themselves in person. Julian never signed. Pride wouldn't let him swallow the insult. He even hired an attorney to sue me for embezzlement. After hearing Julian's tale and thumbing through the personally signed transfers, the lawyer quietly urged surrender. Rowan, every gift and conveyance is bulletproof. Your odds in court are basically zero. Julian cursed the man out of the room. Next came his solo crusade. He hit banks for statements, barged into Vostek offices, filed complaints at the Housing Bureau. Every door slammed shut. Paperwork flawless, signatures verified, not a loophole anywhere. He ricocheted like a headless fly, each crash planting deeper despair. Meanwhile, I opened Act 1 of my liquidation. I stopped paying interest on several massive personal loans Julian had taken to bankroll a megaproject years ago. The deal collapsed, yet the loans lingered. For 3 years, I'd quietly serviced them with company cash, keeping the wolves at bay. Now the music stops. Demand letters snowmailed onto the Voss estate. At first he tossed them, unopened, into the trash. When the bank's formal demand letter arrived, panic finally clawed him. He charged in, shaking the envelope. What the hell are these loans? Why are they billing me? Because you're the borrower, I answered, blinking innocently. Your debt, your dues. Sienna, you set me up. Rage reddened his eyes to slits. Guilty, I admitted calmly. From the moment you decided to play blind, I've been laying the trap. Game on, Julian. Ready to play. The creditors showed up fast. Not the snarling gangsters you see in movies, but buttoned-up bankers in tailored suits and uniformed legal officers. They produced every document with polite precision, then began cataloging and sealing the last personal items in the house that still bore Julian's name. His handful of 6-figure watches, the limited edition models in his study, the made-to-measure suits in his walk-in closet, even the gaming rig he used to binge play till dawn. Every piece was slapped with a seizure sticker. Julian tried to block them, but the head officer warned him sternly. Rowan, please cooperate. Interfere and we'll enforce compulsory measures. His parents arrived moments later. Eleanor, mother-in-law, took one look and almost collapsed. Well, what is this? Have we been robbed? Richard, father-in-law, zeroed in on me. Sienna, did you do this, you vicious woman? What did the Voss family ever do to you? He raised his hand to strike. I didn't flinch. I simply stared back ice cold. Think carefully about what happens after that slap, Dad. My gaze froze his raised palm midair. He must have remembered whose name was now on the deed. One wrong move, and I could put all 3 of them on the street. Eleanor, mother-in-law, threw herself at me, wailing. Sienna, please have mercy on Julian. He's still young, he can't have a criminal record. I shook her off in disgust. Remember how you treated me. You watched while he turned me into his maid, while Maya moved in like lady of the house. And you never said a single word for me. Now you beg. Too late. I turned and climbed the stairs, locking their screams and curses behind the bedroom door. The sky had fallen over the Voss family. A mountain of debt crushed them breathless. To pay it off, Richard and Eleanor had to sell their own house. They traded their gilded neighborhood for a cramped fixer-upper in a shabby old complex. Julian moved out of the Voss estate for good. At the gate he looked at me, eyes unreadable. Sienna, you win. I didn't win, I corrected. I only reclaimed what was always mine. You'll regret this, he said, then dragged his suitcase away without looking back. I watched him go, saying nothing. Regret? The smartest thing I ever did was boot him out of my universe. As for Maya, her world was unraveling too. Mr. Davis's ex-wife was no pushover. She hired investigators, dug up Maya's address and workplace, and stormed the office with a crew. They unfurled banners and scattered flyers, broadcasting Maya and Mr. Davis's glorious affair to every passerby. Homewrecker Maya, may she rot in hell. Fired and disgraced, Maya rushed to Julian, only to find him drowning in his own mess. The man who once pampered her now snarled whenever he saw her. Get lost. I don't have a dime to feed you. She tried crawling back to Mr. Davis, but he dodged her like the plague. Word has it she slunk back to her hometown and vanished. Poetic justice. I sold the Voss estate. I also unloaded Vostek, lock, stock, and barrel. With a fortune in my account, I left the city that had suffocated me for 5 long years. I started a solo round-the-world journey. In Switzerland, I watched sunrise glint off the Alps. In Turkey, I drifted above Cappadocia in a hot air balloon. In Iceland, I chased green ribbons of aurora across the midnight sky. I buried the past mile after mile. I met new friends, heard new stories, and discovered the planet was bigger and brighter than I'd ever imagined. Dumping the wrong man opened infinity in front of me. I was no longer the Mrs. Voss orbiting husband and hearth. I was simply Sienna, free reborn. In year 2 of my travels at a Paris cafe, my phone rang with an unexpected caller, my former mother-in-law. Her voice sounded old and exhausted. Sienna, it's me. Yes. I answered flat. A long silence, then a choked sob. Julian. Something happened to Julian. What? I felt nothing. He got into a fight a few days ago. Injured his eyes. The doctors say he may never see again. She broke down completely on the line. Karma, anyone? He played blind for 5 years. Now the darkness was real. Life had outdone any soap opera. He's at Eastbrook, Sienna. I know we wronged you, but could you just come and see him? He won't listen to anyone, only keeps calling your name. Ma'am. I cut in, we're divorced. I know, but you spent 5 years with him, surely. Those 5 years I was the blind one, I said coldly. Your son's finally sightless, suits him. Find another gullible woman to play nurse. He's already so miserable, how can you be so cruel? She shrieked. Misery. I laughed. Everything he suffers he brewed himself. Not my problem. You heartless witch, karma will get you. I hung up, blocked the number, and ordered a fresh, hot coffee. Outside, the Seine sparkled. A couple kissed on the riverbank, radiant. Lovely. My mood stayed light and untouched. Julian's fate no longer stirred a ripple in me. His doom was his alone. Yesterday's stones had sunk. The surface of my life was calm again. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with friends. We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more captivating tales. See you next time.